This video is going to show how we can set up hyperlinks within a document so that we can jump straight from a reference to what we're actually discussing. The most common use of that would be setting up a table of contents. So you say chapter 1 and you jump to chapter 1. But other uses for that can include things like, as seen in our discussion of this particular aspect, you can turn that into a link to that discussion elsewhere in your document. Now, two approaches can be used for that. One is to do it straight away in Word. The other is to wait until you convert it into a PDF file and make the change over in the PDF file by opening it in Adobe Acrobat Pro. And I'll show both ways here. Now you can see I've just got the usual lorem ipsum text making up the body of it. I've got some text here that I'm going to make as a link, and I've got a section header that I'm going to create in a second. What I am going to do real fast is I'm going to go ahead and separate the linking text and the old Latin stuff section onto a separate page. Okay, so what we'll do here, let's just go ahead and we'll insert a page break. Now there's a few ways to do that. What I'm going to recommend is if you come to layout and use breaks, there are some section breaks you can use if you want to create a new section. That's nice because Word identifies that as being section 2, section 3, section 4, and creates a direct hot link for that you can just import whenever you want to. It'll make that fairly automatic. And you can decide if you want it to be on the next page. If you want to just hit in the middle of a page, put a section break right there. If you want to just do even and odd pages, all that's there. You can also just make some regular old style page breaks. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a section break for next page. Now that can be a little bit hard to manipulate and see exactly where it is because of that blank line. So let's come over here to Home. If you click this little paragraph symbol, that shows and hides all of your formatting codes. You can see here that I have a section break right there. If I put a blank line right there, you'll see a paragraph line, paragraph symbol. Here's another paragraph symbol and another paragraph symbol. I just threw some in just to demonstrate. Now down here, maybe I don't want that dead space at the top, so I'll go ahead and delete that. Now what I would like to do is I'd like to have something calling out old Latin stuff as being a section header, and I want it to be bigger and bolder and more obvious. I also want to be able to link straight to that. And the nice thing is if you come up here and use these formats, these styles will allow you to do that in a very straightforward way. So if I go for heading 1, this is now a heading tier 1. You can have a hierarchy of different headings. So you can have your top tier, like a chapter, your subchapter, so chapter 5, now you're in chapter 5.1, chapter 5.2. What if you want to make a reference to something deeper? You can go for headings 3, 4, and 5. There's other ways to do that as well. You can look those up separately. That would let you do section 5.1a, subtopic B, that sort of thing. Now, what I've done here is I've created old Latin stuff as 1, and you'll notice if you have over here your navigation bar selected, and you can pick that based on headings, pages, all that. So let's go to headings. You see old Latin stuff now exists as a heading. I can jump straight to that over here, which makes it easier to navigate while I'm editing the document. That's not necessarily going to help when we turn this into a PDF for some other reader to use out there in the world. But the nice thing is, by having it over here, that means all the machinery is in place behind the scenes to do this really pretty painlessly. Suppose linking text is the thing we're going to have linked to that. Or, better yet, let's go ahead and just insert something from scratch. So I'm in the middle of a sentence and I say, as seen in old Latin stuff. What I can do is I can go to References. I can insert a cross-reference because I want to reference something else in my document, right? And you'll notice it says that it refers to specific places in your document, such as headings, figures, and tables. And yes, you can do all of that. You can also have all those things auto-populate your table of contents if you'd like. That's a separate topic, though. So a cross-reference is a hyperlink where the label is automatically generated. And it's true. So let's take a look at how it works. If I click cross-reference, I can pick what kind of a reference. So if I've got figure 7, or equation 3, or I want to refer to one of my endnotes, or a bookmark that I've got somewhere in here, or a heading, I can choose any of those options. I'm picking a heading this time, so let's go for heading. Insert reference to. We want the heading text, right? So it'll jump straight to that rather than the page number. That way, if we suddenly change pages later on by editing our document, it's going to go to my heading text, not my page number. Depending, you may want it to jump straight to page 17, so maybe you do want it going to page 17. Yeah, whatever you need. Now make sure that Insert as Hyperlink is selected. Insert as Hyperlink means when you click it, it'll jump to that spot. Without that, it will automatically update the reference. So if I change the typing, it'll update it elsewhere in the document. One example of that might be if I had, let's just say, if I refer to something as being in set 3, so it's not a normal figure or a table or anything. In set 3, refer to in set 3. Well, I can go ahead and have it done as in set 3. So I can put that in on my own, and it'll automatically update that so that if it becomes in set 4 later on, all the references back to that same text will update with it. So it makes it faster and easier. I want it as a hyperlink so I can jump around. That's the point of the video, so we'll do that. We want to go to the only heading that I've got here, but you'll have a whole list of the headings that you've created. So we'll go Insert Old Latin Stuff. And there it is. Just says Old Latin Stuff. Wow, right? Here's where it gets interesting. If you highlight that now, you'll notice the tooltip is saying if you hit Control-click, you can jump to that spot. You can even do the back cursor and it'll take you back to where it was before. So that's going to be a really useful thing to do. I'll also point out if you click in and you're moving around with the cursor, a lot of the time, oh, here it is. You'll see that it highlights the whole thing gray. That's because this whole thing is now going to have a field code. You can go ahead and see all the details of it if you right-click onto it. That's just going to be the behind-the-scenes machinery that it's doing. You can also edit, and you can force it to update the field if you've done a lot of editing and it hasn't gone through the entire document to update things. You can force it to update field. You can also do, I think, F9 to force an update on your whole document. All right, anyway, we've got ourselves a table of contents sort of thing, or at least a cross-reference or whatever we want to call it. Now let's go ahead and export this to a PDF file. So if we go to File and we'll do Save As, and now we're in Browse. You can see I've already saved my file as example.doc. What I want to do is I want to choose to export it to a PDF file. Now here's where some people make the mistake. Make sure that you click the Options button right here, because what you need to make sure is that it's going to create bookmarks using your headings. So make sure that that's highlighted and clicked in. You'll be in good shape. You can also toggle some other things, but I'm not going to worry about any of those. And right now it's got open file after publishing. That's just for convenience. It's just going to pop open our PDF file in just a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and it should export it straight along. You'll see it pops up a fake printer for a second, and it just printed into the PDF file. Now notice that I'm in Adobe Acrobat Professional. Make sure that you are as well. Let's take a look at the version. So if we go for, let's see, About, here we are. It'll show you your version. I'm in Adobe Professional, version 8.0.0. You may be using a different version. Things will generally be fairly similar within the 8 series, but if you're in a different one, you may have to click around a little bit just to see where things are. And I just hit the Escape button to get rid of it. I forgot there wasn't an X button on it. Okay, now notice over here. So on the sidebar, we have this link that'll give us a thumbnail view of all of the images, all the pages inside the document. But the one you want is the second one. That's where the bookmarks are. So if we click on bookmarks, we see Old Latin Stuff, which will jump us down to our bookmark that we made over there in Word. You can just do Alt back, Alt left arrow to jump back if you wanted to, just like in a browser. If we click over here, it'll do the exact same thing. So that part's working fine. What we need to do now is we need to create our own new link. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and highlight the text where we want the link to exist. And we're going to go for Create Link. Now you'll notice the only options here are invisible rectangle or visible rectangle. We'll choose the invisible. If you make it over in Word in the first place, it turns the text itself into the hyperlink. When you're doing it here in this program, at least as far as I know how to do it, instead it's going to put an invisible rectangle over top of it rather than make the text itself the link. There's probably a more refined way to do it, as evidenced by the fact that the Word export did it, but I'm not sure what it is, and so this will be a good enough workaround that matches with most of the tutorials I've seen online. Now you want to make sure that go to page view down here, and notice the word view. What you're linking to is a certain view of the document. It's going to go to a page with the identical zoom setting and panning and everything like that, as opposed to the one that we created from Word, which is actually going to jump straight to the page. So watch how this works. We'll go for next. Now we have to go to the spot where we want it to be. Let's go down and we'll have it linked to the sed tempus paragraph. And just to emphasize, I'm going to zoom in a little bit further. Now watch, if I go ahead and I hit set link, it's going to create a link right here. And if I click on linking text, it will jump me to the exact same view at the exact same location. So you can do it this way. It works, but it's not as polite as when you do it actually over in Word. Now notice also that if I go for the original link, it's going to take me right back to where it was, but it's going to maintain the current the zoom setting. Now if I zoom way out and go to a different spot, it'll keep the same sort of setting, but jump me to the appropriate page. So the Word one behaves itself better, but the version here in Adobe Acrobat works well enough as well. And so that's how you can set up bookmarks for all of these in either Word or in Adobe.